So sitting here with Tim McIlrath of Rise Against, of course, and thanks for being here,
Yeah,
and
thanks for having me.
thanks for being a part of this album and doing this, taking on this insane adventure of trying to come anywhere in the ballpark of Midnight Oil's wonderful song "Beds Are Burning," and couldn't have done it without you. So I'm just so happy you're on it.
That I was so pumped that you asked me to do it. I've always loved that song, and I've even on some Australian tours that we've done, I always thought like, oh, this would be great if we could pull off a version of this. So I've actually like popped the hood on that song before you contacted me, and just kind of like
Yeah,
looked at it, and I just was like, I don't even know where to begin. I don't know how to approach this song. Like I want to cover it, but I have no idea how to approach it. And so when you hit me up and you're like, dude, I did it. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Somebody did this. Somebody like climbed this mountain and figured it out. And your version is so rad.
thanks. Well, the riff is there, right?
Yeah.
Theirs is just on bass guitar, the dun 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 dun. But just adding guitar to that, so that was pretty obvious. I think the verses were the biggest challenge for me to try to. Can you hear me? Am I cutting out weird?
No, you're
Okay,
good.
cool. The verses were probably the biggest challenge for me, vocally for sure. The rest of the parts
Yeah.
seemed appropriate for both our range, I would say, and
Yeah.
our
Totally.
are in the red sort of scratchiness,
Yeah. Right.
as
Yeah.
people call it.
The verses, the verses are so strange. Like people underestimate what a strange delivery he has.
Do you have a memory of that song as a kid and what it meant to you? Of course, us not being from Australia, but some sort of feeling that it evoked.
I remember, so it came out what, late 80s,
Yes.
and so I remember it being on the radio, sort of like just one of the songs that became part of the ether. It became part of the music that you would hear like at the pool or driving around in your car or at the mall or whatever. It was one of those things. But you could tell, you could tell that this song had more weight to it.
Hmm.
You could tell there was a lot more. It was a lot more earnest, and there was a lot more like urgency, and that it wasn't just like a straight up party song. And so I remember getting that impression even as a kid. And I've always been attracted to like more serious music, I guess too. Like I like funny, campy stuff. It's all good, but like the stuff that makes me stop and say, "What is that?" is like stuff that's a little more serious. That's kind of my relationship with music. And so that song always, that was my impression that of all the top 10 hits that might have been being played in the early 90s on commercial rock radio, this one had a little more meat to it.
Definitely, and I remember the video being super impressive. uh,
Yeah.
in many ways, and also thinking like as a kid at the time, so young, not understanding the complexity of the subject matter at all, but knowing that it was
Mm-hmm.
important and felt urgent, and you know certainly felt like they were addressing something that needed to be addressed and seemed important, even though I was a kid who just wanted to rock at the time. Um, and I think that's a sign of a good song, is even if you're speaking to something extremely important and near and dear to your heart, if you can somehow attract the masses. And I think that Rise Against has done that in many ways, because you're clearly talking about something in each song. And maybe some songs are more love songs, than others. But I've found through our conversations that a lot of Rise Against songs have a deeper meaning, but can appeal to someone who's just listening to music casually at the same time, and not necessarily looking for anything political or other. Looking for anything other than something you could have a beer to and rock to at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a
I
fine
think
line.
you're, yeah, I think you're right. I think that the music in some ways comes first because nobody's going to care what you're saying if they don't like your song.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They got to listen to it 1st
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so I love music in that way. I love music that has a big hook to it. I love music that can reach people. And then as a vocalist, as I'm sure you know, like when someone puts a microphone in front of you, or you lay out some music and you're like, now I have to sing, I have to write lyrics, I have to put pen to paper. It's usually whatever is most urgent to you. You know what I mean? Like whatever is off the top of your head. And for me, that urgency was music that lended itself towards politics and activism. A lot of that just kind of came out of me. I think it's because you are the person that's owning that song. And so if someone's asking you to, like, here, I'm giving you this microphone for 3 minutes, what are you going to do with it? And that's the stuff that came out. But like you said too, Rise Against is some of our most popular songs have nothing to do with politics, and so I know that we sort of have a foot in both worlds. But I think that's kind of music. Music should be complex. Doesn't need to be like just one or the other.
Yes. Yes. And it's definitely a big feat that you've found success with a foot in both lanes, both popular music, as uncool as that may sound to hear. You guys are a very popular band, and also saying something that matters to you and people relating to it, and probably educating a lot of people on some of these subject matters and making people think about stuff they hadn't thought about or didn't want to think about, and so that's a great thing. And so part of this whole covers album has been shedding light on mental health, partnering up with the Jed Foundation, which I've spoken a bunch about. But so I wanted to ask you, because my idea when I first reached out to you, I think in doing this we did like an Instagram live thing, and for this covers album was to discuss and explore different ways on dealing with fear, anxiety, the unknown, and everything that comes in between, because that's where we were at when we did this cover song through COVID, kind of the beginning of COVID, the scariest time when no one knew what was going to happen, or when you could be clearly in a hotel again on tour. I'm assuming
Right, yeah.
I'm assuming that you're going to play a show, and so that's great.
Yeah.
And maybe it feels a little safer to talk about that now than it once did. But was there anything that you leaned on mentally? From what I know about you, Tim, you seem like a pretty even-keeled guy. But was there anything that surprised you about yourself, or any lessons you learned from a family member or anyone during the last 2-year period that you would share?
That's a good question. I think what it did, it was interesting when I had kids. I have 2 daughters. Parents will talk about how that shifts like your priorities a little bit. Like all of a sudden it takes you out of the priority place, and it shifts you and puts you, all of a sudden you have different priorities, and it kind of like makes you look at the world differently. And I experienced that too as a parent. It was like, oh wow, like I have this new responsibility and this other part of me, this different side of life that's very different than what I do for a living, and that shift was like kind of similar when COVID happened, and basically the world was telling us you can't do what it is that you do. You can't do what you love to do. You could do it by yourself in your room there and make music, but we're not going to play live shows. You're not going to get into a studio. You're not going to do all these things. And no one's ever done that before. And so it made me contemplate a world where I can't do what it is I had been doing and like what makes me happy, And at that point I had to sort of think about like, well, what else is there in my life? Are there other things in my life? Is this my life? Like, is this that important that without it, like I would crumble, you know? And I think that it made me kind of take stock and pause and realize like, yes, like music is a huge part of who I am. It's not like the only part of who I am. And I have, you know, my family and my friends, and I have a world outside of it that's also very important, you know? And so, as scary as that was to go through, I realized how important it was to have like a little bit of a foundation underneath that as well, you know, and just so it helps you kind of um, roll with the punches.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. I found myself once our initial tour got shut down, I found myself adjusting and getting quite comfortable being, not being only known as, a musician or an artist to go see or
Mm-hmm.
listen to. And it was fun. It's been a nice 2 years to kind of put that part of my personality on hold in a lot of ways. And maybe I'm scared to go back out there
Right,
again.
right,
And we will, but it's nice to not be only that guy,
right.
and fall back in love with all the stuff that you love doing growing up. Because we weren't always making music for a living. As long as you and I have both been doing
Mm-hmm.
it in the various punk bands we were in, from high school all the way till
Mm-hmm.
now, there were other
Right.
things I liked, and I think you're probably a better songwriter, probably a better front man, and probably certainly a better family man. Once you're more well rounded, instead of just only Tim the guy on tour, and
Right.
relying on
Totally.
just showing up and playing shows and people kind of catering to you and working for you.
Yeah.
I've
It's
loved it.
so true. And I think it's like I was thinking about this today actually. Like sometimes it's the difference between the people that like thrive out here on the road and doing music and that kind of thing, and the people that have a hard time thriving. And I feel like, you know, when you get lost in this role and you go and you go too far down it and it becomes your entire world and purview, like, you know, not that you and I are the kind of guys that like play characters. We're not like characters, but like our audience characterizes us. I mean, your audience has an idea of who you are.
Yeah.
Mine has an idea of who I am. It's probably pretty close to who we are, but it's not the entire
Hmm.
picture. You know what I mean? And so you have to be able to step away from that character. You got to be able to step away from that and find the Aaron that was the Aaron before AWOL. You know what I mean? I got to find the Tim that was the Tim before Rise Against, and the Tim that will be the Tim after Rise Against. You know, and like that stuff is important to kind of like keep in touch with. Otherwise, you could end up living kind of in this la la land, this sort of like illusion that's sort of difficult to like pin down, for anybody.
Absolutely. It's also so helpful to be around people who really know you, whether it's your own wife or kids or siblings, and that's that's the other thing, that over the last 2 years I've spent so much more time with family, and it's been couldn't have come at a better time. As hard and terrible as the last 2 years were, there are multiple silver linings, but I was around for every holiday and birthday, and that hasn't
Right.
happened in a long time. But we're really lucky in
Yeah.
a place of great, I would say, luck and fortune to be able to play music for a living. So I don't mean to take away from that in any way, but it has been nice to be
Mm-hmm.
reminded of how important family is, and friends, of course, and dogs. Maybe you can see my girls walking around. But
Sorry, she was kind of camouflaging to the couch.
so if you were to pick, you could pick a couple, but of albums that you would recommend are your go-to albums when you're going through any sort of hard time. What jumps into your head?
That's a good question. Um, I think so. When I think of hard times, I think of sad times.
Yeah.
And when I think of sad times, I think of a sad record. Um, I think I think one of the greatest sad records was Beck Sea Change.
So we've talked about this before, I think, right? Because
Have we?
that was one of my go-to, yeah, like breakup records. I went through this heavy breakup, and that record blew me away. And then I ended up doing a cover of one of the songs, and he heard it. Sorry to steal your thunder here, but Beck heard it,
No,
and
absolutely.
then said something and reached out, and then as a result, I reached out to him to do a cover song on this record, which he agreed to do. So because of my love for that Beck record, he's on this album we're on together. That's kind of cool.
I love that. I love that full circle.
Yeah.
Wait, what song was it?
Which one did I cover?
Yeah.
Of his? Sorry, the name escapes me. It's just luckily this isn't live, so I could edit out this fumbling. But it's the
yeah, totally. Yeah.
Put your hand on the wheel, let the golden age begin. Is that the first song?
Yeah, the first song on the record. The first song on the record. Totally.
Guess I'm doing fine.
Such a great song.
Yeah,
I don't know the name of it.
I believe that's what I did. Yeah, it was for like a charity thing, you know. So that was cool, and that was also the same way I connected with Jewel, who was also on the record, as I did a cover song for a charity of hers. Well, that's what it was. I did a Beck song for Jewel's charity, and as a result, those two artists are on the record. So and I've never met either of them in person, you know.
That's so cool. I was just last week. I was listening to that record, and I was listening to the finger picking on the single "A Lost Cause," you know, and I was like trying to figure out how the hell he does that, and I was like, I spent like a whole day just trying to figure out the pattern. A whole day of failing, yeah, pretty much. I'm not a great finger picker, but it got to me. I was like, I want to know how to play that song. That's such a good, just an epic, sad record, you know, just from front to back, and then just so beautiful.
And it sounds so good. And now Nigel Goodrich did that record, and he was just on the heels of blowing me away with OK Computer and so forth and so on. He did OK Computer. I think he did a bunch of, because everything he's done he touches seems to be great. So that record was a big breakup record for me, front to end.
Totally. That's an epic breakup record. You know, it's funny because I always liked Beck, but I wasn't like a die-hard like Beck head. And so that record was like my conversion like over to Beck. When I heard that, I was like, all right, like this guy's got my heart now. So
super courageous record to do as well.
Yeah. Departure.
Yeah, it was great. And I actually used the same photographer who shot that. Her name's Autumn DeWild, and she shot that cover. So like there's so many reasons that that record was impactful for me. So it's cool that it was for you.
That's really fun. Yeah, I didn't realize I was stumbling upon this. Gold mine of Aaron background.
of information. And Autumn is so cool, and she's done some really cool stuff too. And we got she was. I was lucky enough that she would work with me. So I guess I'll just ask you one last lighthearted question, because this has been so melancholy so far. I'm using my radio host vocal.
I think you need a whole radio show. There's some calls, you know.
Yeah, all about Beck. But the question is, what your favorite, and this is childhood or teen years, favorite candy and favorite cereal of your youth?
Oh, okay. Favorite candy, the candy bar, whatchamacallit? Remember whatchamacallit?
Oh yeah, good one.
Oh, dude.
Kind of underground.
I don't know, something about. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to them. I don't know if they're still around or not. You don't really see them anymore, but that was my go-to. Cereal was probably, it's funny because my family wouldn't really buy like the really good sugary cereals,
Of course.
you know.
So it was like the knockoff.
So yeah, it was either knockoff or trying to be healthy or whatever. But on vacations, they would let us get whatever we wanted. Like if we were going camping or if we were like going to stay somewhere, that's when we were able to get like the sugar cereals, and we were able to like, buy pop and stuff like that. And so I think my go-to was Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Probably.
Good one.
That was like, yeah, that's
A roof of the
jam.
mouth destroyer, though. Right?
Yeah. That and like Cap'n Crunch was like the roof of the mouth.
That's true. With berries or without berries?
Oh, right, because there were so many different flavors of it. You're right.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and these cereals have evolved. I talk to my wife is much younger than me, and we talk about the good old days and like candies, and she drops these weird hybrid candies on me that I've never heard of, and I can't
really?
I can't even think of any of them right now. And
Back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. If I were to eat something like that now, I feel like my head would fall off. It's been so long since I've had like chemical, candy that's full of
right
corn syrup and whatnot. But
I always think about that one. I haven't eaten meat in like 30 years or whatever,
mm-hmm.
and so when you stop eating meat, the first question people start asking you is like, oh well, are you okay? Like, how do you get your protein?
Yeah.
And it's like, man, where were you when all I was eating was lemon heads and Coke?
Yeah.
Nobody ever asked me where I got my protein then.
I know. Lemon heads. And lemon heads would just make your glands explode because they were so sour.
I know, yeah.
Lemon heads that's a good one. Jawbreakers were crazy.
Jawbreakers.
Great band name, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah.
Lemon heads, wow.
So I was like a pool rat as a kid. So like I just lived at the neighborhood like Park District pool.
Mm-hmm.
And so all the candy there was like, that was just like licorice. And
did the ice cream man run through there?
Oh yeah, we had an ice cream man.
Yeah.
Rolling through.
I wonder if it was the same song that ours had. Cruising through. The ice cream man ran through the local beach around here recently, and the prices were absurd now.
Oh really?
My buddy who has a bunch of kids, they wanted to get a bunch of stuff, and he was so furious about the inflation of the ice cream man.
Lots of inflation.
This was before all the current inflation. So this was like a couple years back, and he's like, "What? It was $9 for a Choco Taco, man."
Right. That's like the 2022 version is like you're paying for an experience, Aaron.
Yes, that's true.
You got to pay for
that's
like the nostalgia is been added into the price.
I loved the Slimer ice cream bar. Did you? Or it wasn't a bar; it was on a stick. It was a Slimer from Ghostbusters, and his eyes were gum. I loved that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I can remember that too. Yeah, that one, and then like the firecracker one was just red, white, and blue.
Oh yeah. I didn't go with that, but that one looked really good as well.
Remember the push pop?
Yeah, the push pops, of course. Yeah.
Push pop.
And then you were absolutely screwed if you popped it through. If you pushed it through pop too early, and then you're.
Yeah. You were a sad camper.
Think about those those products. Like we were just like eating plastic and licking plastic. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really, we've come a long way for sure.
That's what I think about. Like because I raised kids in the 2000s and all the different rules and things that you have to do, and I'm thinking, man, we didn't do any of those stuff, and somehow we're still alive.
That's true too. You'll find this an older person who still smokes cigarettes and drinks Diet Coke, who's 101 years old or whatever. So part of it's genetics, of course. I also used to disgustingly mess with Fun Dip. Remember Fun Dip?
Oh,
it had the little stick, and you dip in the sugar poison, and then I would eat the stick at the end. Yeah. Which is like just eating chalk and, obliterating my teeth. That's probably why I chipped this tooth later on down in life. Was there anything else you want to talk about before we bail?
No, I don't think so.
Are you playing a show tomorrow?
Yeah. So I'm in Quebec City, and we're doing 5
International.
Canadian dates with Billy Talent
We
out
played with
here.
them too.
So oh, you do?
Yeah,
Cool.
no,
Awesome.
we did Europe with them. We did like, I think
Ooh,
a handful
yeah,
of days, and they were just the nicest guys ever. So tell them I said, hey,
absolutely.
really good guys.
I will do that.
Is it a
Yeah,
co-headlining
they're
vibe, or you just are
yeah.
you
We're gonna
do you
co-headline
switch, or
here.
is
It's
it?
kind of like they're gonna close every night,
Isn't
and we're
that the
gonna go on
best?
it before them. I haven't done it in so long. I'm really excited to do it.
Well, yeah, it's a pretty good feeling to you get to eat dinner earlier because you're done like a normal
Hmm.
human being, and then you can get to bed earlier because that's how old we are.
Yes, that is how old we
We
are.
did that
It'll be
20 we
a
did
nice
that 21
adjustment
Pilots
from
tour,
indoor.
and that was the last time I saw you in person.
Yeah,
And you and
right.
your
Right,
kids and your
Milwaukee
wife
show.
came, and yeah, in
Mm-hmm.
Milwaukee, Dodgers were in the World
Mm-hmm.
Series, or wait,
That's
maybe they were in
right.
the playoffs, but nonetheless,
Yeah, you guys were freaking out.
yeah, it was just so great to play a 30-minute set.
Oh my God, yeah. That's
And then it
that
was
is
like just autopilot, and it was done, and then I was clean and showered by 8 p.m. It was a great time.
isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Last time we did that was we did a run with the Foo Fighters, and so we got to go on very early and then be done. And it was like, oh wow, we can go out to dinner now. We can like
Yeah,
go see a movie, or we can just sit back and watch the whole show, and just
a
relax
lot of
and hang out.
options. Was
So
it an
a
outdoor
lot
like
of options.
stadium vibe or arenas?
It was two different ones. We did one in Australia, which was like outdoor, those big like Australian rules football stadiums,
Uh huh.
and then we did one in the Midwest that was mostly like hockey
The only
stadiums.
bummer with the
That's when.
outdoor thing that early is that it's just straight up daylight when you're playing.
Oh yeah,
Usually,
totally.
we opened
Oh
up
yeah,
for the Stones, and only once. That sounded like a crazy statement, but we only got to do
that's
one
really
show,
cool though.
and
That's amazing.
it was cool, and we were told that they picked us. I find that very hard to believe, but I think the
Hey,
band actually approved it, maybe, or just didn't say no,
okay,
something like that. And
all right,
we
yeah,
were playing, and it was probably the whole show was sold out, and it was probably 5% full when we played because A, it was
that's
raining,
dude.
and B, obviously
Yeah,
everybody was getting their beers and hot dogs and getting ready for the real big rock show. But I could still tell
totally.
my my eventual kids
Mm,
and people who care that I got to play with them.
totally. That
What's
was
the
my
craziest
experience with.
band you played with that you would say like is something you'd brag about?
Ooh, brag about. I don't have any Stone stories.
I'm sorry.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you one of the weirdest ones. Was it was Rise Against, the Cult, and then the Steve Miller Band.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, it was a strange like I don't know maybe Memphis somewhere like by the river on one of these stages. And I was just thinking like I don't know who put this lineup together, but I kind of love it.
Yeah, it makes sense somehow.
And yeah, like the Cult were great. And then Steve Miller actually came out on stage while we were playing to watch us play,
There you go.
and like talked to us after the show. Was like that was great. And then next thing you know, he was like showing us his guitars because he has like this crazy guitar collection and these custom made guitars that are they're not Fenders, but they say Fender on them. But like
Mm.
it was something really really cool. Anyway, he was just really down to earth. And I think of like shows like that um, that are just sort of I don't know weird moments in time that I didn't anticipate
Yeah,
happening. You know what I mean?
that's
And
incredible. And if
I
you
think anytime we get to like play with like our heroes, like you and I, like you did the whole Prophets of Rage
yeah.
tour,
Hmm.
so you're on stage with like fucking Chuck D. You're on
Yes.
stage with Timmy C and Tom Morello and Brad and Be Real, and like you and I got to do songs with them and stuff
Yeah, that
like
was cool.
that stuff. That because so when I saw you in Chicago on that tour,
Hmm.
um, like I like the 15-year-old me saw Rage Against the Machine on that same stage,
Hmm.
like when they toured with Wu-Tang Clan in
Yeah.
like '93. So that was so surreal, like walking out on that stage with you and doing an MC5 song and like having fun with like those same dudes that were there, 20 years earlier or whatever it was.
I regret not seeing that Wu Tang Well, regret never seeing Wu-Tang, but regret not going to Rage Wu-Tang tour. That I don't know what I was doing, but I definitely missed that. And in speaking to Tom, he said he has just insane stories about that tour. He didn't
Yeah.
tell me any of those stories, but I'm sure that was wild stuff. But
Yeah.
well, anyways, Tim, thank you for your time, and I'm happy
Yeah.
that you're back out on the road. Let me know how
Yeah.
that goes, because it seems so foreign to me that I have no idea what that even will feel like. So let me know.
No, it's definitely, I mean, every day changes, you know what I mean?
Of course.
Like, so
Yeah.
we're just trying to get out here and see what can happen.
Well, you got off the flight,
Put it all
you
together.
made it, and you're in a hotel. So that's,
Right.
I think
yeah.
it's the
I'm the
show's
only
happening.
one here so far. So.
Oh.
yeah.
Well.
Nobody else is here yet.
Really? Well.
We'll see. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, you have time. Well, it's kind of late. Well, you still have time to go have a nice dinner. You can do that or order in.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
Go try out my French around Quebec City.
Nice.
And, hang out a little bit. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you too sometime.
Sounds good.
When I'm in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, me too, man. So, thanks again, and good luck with the tour, dude.
Cool. All right, Aaron.